Yes, it is. Welcome into Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you live from Splash at Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center, which is the site for another Warriors really important basketball game as we count down the end of the regular season. The Warriors have 5 games left. Tonight, they welcome in the Houston Rockets. It is their third to last home game of this regular season. They go home, road, home to close out this regular season. And all of these games are still really, really important for the Golden State Warriors. Welcome in. It's Warriors Live presented by Xfinity. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. My name is Mark Randy. Again, coming to you live from Splash at Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center on the west side of the arena. The newest sports bar and restaurant in the Thrive City area. And if you are on your way over, stop by, grab yourself something to eat or drink. You can watch all of the sports, all of the NBA, all of the MLB going on right now across the country, and there's no better place to do it than right here at Splash. And you can stop by, say what's up to me here before I head on in to Chase Center in about a half an hour. We are an hour away from tip-off between the Warriors and the Rockets. Warriors at 46-31, good enough for 5th in the Western Conference currently. The Rockets at 51-27, they are second in the Western Conference. The Rockets are just about locked in the number 2 spot. Again, they're 51-27. They're 13 and a half games behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they're not going to catch OKC. OKC has already clinched the 1 seed in the West. And the team closest behind the Rockets are the Lakers, who won earlier today in OKC. By the way, the Lakers did. And the Lakers, actually I can update it because the Lakers beat OKC, so Houston's only 13 behind OKC. Doesn't matter. Houston cannot catch OKC with only 5 games left. 4 games for Houston, by the way. The Lakers beat OKC earlier today, so they gained a half game on Houston. They're now only 3 games behind, but with the Rockets only having 4 games left, it's essentially Houston's. Houston would have to lose out. The Lakers would have to win out in order for that to even become a question. The Rockets are going to be the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, so that begs the question, just exactly how much are they going to be playing for tonight? I can tell you, I think they're still going to be playing for an awful lot. This is a Rockets team that hasn't really been able to beat the Warriors much. They won earlier this season on December 11th in Houston. It was that play-in tournament game. Winner of that game went to Vegas for the play-in tournament, for the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup, as they were calling it this year. Not the play-in tournament, but the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup. And that was an in-season tournament game. Winner went to Vegas for the in-season tournament semifinals. Houston won that game 91-90, if you remember, in Houston. That, though, snapped a 15-game winning streak the Warriors had over the Rockets. The Rockets have since lost in their last game played against the Warriors, and overall, the Warriors have won 16 of the last 17 games versus Houston, including 7 in a row here at Chase Center. The last time the Warriors lost to the Houston Rockets inside this building, you got to go all the way back to just before the pandemic. We're talking February 20th, 2020, the last time Houston won in this building. So the Warriors have Houston's number, even with that that loss earlier this season in December in Houston. This is a Warrior team that has a lot of really good memories against this Houston squad, against last year's Houston squad, against going all the way back really to the James Harden era Houston Rockets as well. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, Steve Kerr, the coaching staff, they have beat up on this Houston team, and I can guarantee you Houston is taking it personally. These teams have developed a little bit of a rivalry, but for it to become real, recognized, I think, across the NBA, you have to have Houston getting the Warriors a couple of times. And, oh, by the way, there is a chance, not necessarily a great chance, but there is a chance we see Warriors versus Rockets in the Western Conference playoffs at some point. If the Warriors fall down to the play-in, which, by the way, is definitely possible, and I'll break down all the scenarios coming up in just a little bit. If the Warriors fall to the play-in and they win their first play-in game and they lock up the 7 seed, they will very likely play the Houston Rockets. Meanwhile, if they're, say, the 6 seed, which I still think is very likely, and they win their first-round series, and then Houston wins their first-round series, that second-round matchup would be Warriors versus Rockets. The winner of the 2-7 plays the winner of the 3-6, and that very well could be Rockets versus Warriors. So this might not be the final act between the Warriors and the Rockets this season. It is the final act in this regular season. It is also the 5th time these teams have played each other because they had that extra game with the NBA Cup, the in-season tournament that added one extra game. 5 games between the Warriors and the Rockets today, or this year, and the Warriors, regardless of what happens today, already have locked up the tiebreaker with Houston. Not that that matters because Houston's won 51 games. The Warriors have won 46. The Warriors cannot catch the Rockets, so the tiebreaker doesn't really mean all that much, but it does mean the Warriors have beaten a really good Houston team 3 times out of 4 times so far this season. Houston, they've been on a hot stretch of late. They were 37-25 after a March 4th loss in Indiana. Since then, 14-2, including a 9-game win streak at one point. Houston, overall, they're a middle-of-the-pack offense, but they a really good defense. 4th best defensive rating in the NBA this season. That is their calling card, the defensive end of the floor. And we'll see if the Warriors' offense is up to the challenge in this one today. Meanwhile, the Warriors are 46-31, as I mentioned, 5th in the Western Conference. With the Lakers' win earlier today, the Warriors now a game and a half behind the Lakers for the 3. That is looking less and less likely as every day goes by. The Lakers have won consecutive games after the Warriors beat them in LA on Thursday earlier this week. The Warriors, in order to get up to the 3, would need to win out and for the Lakers to lose 2 games. Because the Warriors can't just tie the Lakers, they have to be a game better than the Lakers. And the Lakers only have 4 games left. So in order for the Warriors to catch the Lakers, Warriors have to go 5-0, Lakers have to go 2-2. Or Warriors have to go 4-1, Lakers have to go 1-3. It's possible, but it seems relatively unlikely. Now, the Lakers do have another game against OKC coming up, but they did just dominate OKC earlier today in OKC in an early game. That score 126-99. LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers beat the Thunder 126-99. What you also have to throw out there is you don't really know exactly what OKC is playing for at this point, which is why it's so difficult to play they've got an easy schedule. They've got a difficult schedule game because you don't know what the motivations are going to be for any individual team on a given day. Maybe OKC is taking their foot off the gas and just gearing up for the postseason because they're going to be the 1 seed no matter what. And they're very likely going to have the best record in the NBA as well, even if they drop another game in their final 4 games the rest of this regular season. Anyway, okay, so that's the Lakers in the 3. The Nuggets are currently the 4. They're only a half game ahead of the Warriors. This is where the Warriors could still move up in the Western Conference standings. The Nuggets are 47-31. The Warriors are 46-31. Half game separates those two. Important to note that the Nuggets also have the tiebreaker over the Warriors, even given what happened on Friday night when the Warriors beat the Nuggets 118-104. But good. But still, important to note that the Warriors would have to be a full game better than Denver in order for that to happen. Now, it becomes much easier to see how the Warriors could do that. The Nuggets have played... they've played an extra game. They've played 78 games. The Warriors have played 77 games. The Nuggets have 4 games left. The Warriors have 5 games left. If the Warriors win out and they go 5-0, all the Nuggets have to do is lose once in their final 4. A 3-1 Nuggets record, a 5-1 Warriors record, or a 5-0 Warriors record means the Warriors would be the 4 seed in the Western Conference. The Nuggets just have to lose one more time than the Warriors do, and they have 1 fewer game left to do it. So if the Warriors were to go 4-1, they would need the Nuggets to go 2-2. But a 3-1 Nuggets record is certainly possible, and a 5-0 Warriors record in the Final 5 is certainly possible. Not necessarily incredibly likely, but it is possible at that point. So keep that in mind for the Warriors as they keep going forward here. So that's above the Warriors, the Lakers and the Nuggets. Movement upwards is possible, probably not as high as 3. 4 is definitely possible. I would say being somewhere 5, 6, 7, or 8 is still most likely for the Warriors. Because right behind them, despite what the Warriors have been doing, you have 3 teams that are on their heels. The Warriors are right now the 5 seed at 46-31. Then you have the T-Wolves, the Clippers, and the Grizzlies currently in a 3-way tie at 46-32. All those teams won yesterday, by the way. Memphis beat Detroit. Minnesota beat Philadelphia. The Clippers beat Dallas. So yesterday, no help for the Golden State Warriors around the NBA. The T-Wolves win, the Clippers win, the Grizzlies win. As a result, those 3 teams are now all tied a half game behind the Warriors. And the Clippers have the tiebreaker over the Warriors. Let's just say the Warriors lose tonight, all right? Let's say the Warriors lose tonight, which would set up a 4-way tie at 46-32, seeds 5 through 8 with the Warriors, the T-Wolves, the Clippers, and the Grizzlies. The Clippers would win that tiebreaker. The Warriors would finish second in that tiebreaker. So in the event of a 4-way tie between those 4 teams, Warriors, T-Wolves, Clippers, and Grizzlies, in the event of a tie with those 4, assuming the tie is from 5 through 8, the Warriors would be the 6th seed in the Western Conference. The Clippers would be the 5, and then you'd have the Grizzlies and the T-Wolves in the 7 and 8 spots. That would still work for the Warriors because above all, of course you want to be the 4, so you get home court advantage. If you are not going to be a top 4 seed, I would prefer to be the 6 over the 5 because that means you get to avoid the Oklahoma City half of the bracket, and I don't think that's where anybody should want to be if you could control it. Although you can't really control it. You'll just win as many games as possible, and then you'll fall wherever you fall. But if I had to pick and choose a spot between 5 and 6, I'm taking 6 because I'd rather play OKC eventually in the Western Conference Finals, or maybe you get lucky and they get knocked off by somebody else than having to play OKC potentially in the second round. But again, as much as I say 5 and 6 is possible, it is in a 4-way tiebreaker scenario between the Warriors, the T-Wolves, the Clippers, and the Grizzlies. You also very easily could be the 7 or the 8 seed still. You're only a half game behind or ahead of the Grizzlies, who are right now by virtue of a tiebreaker in 8th. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Half game difference. If the Warriors lose today, there'll be a 4-way tie, and the Warriors will move down to 6 in the Western Conference. The Warriors, if they go 4-1, which means at worst there would be that 4-way tiebreaker if everybody else keeps winning. The Warriors go 4-1 and everybody else wins out. The Warriors at worst would be the 6th seed. So 4-1 guarantees you a top 6 seed. 5-0 guarantees you the 5 at worst. The Warriors' goal should be at least go 4-1, which means you would at least be the 6th seed, and there is nothing anybody else can do about it. You go 4-1 in your final 5, the Warriors will be at worst the 6th seed, and it might still be pretty likely that they could be the 5 seed as well. 4-1 should be the Warriors' goal in these final 5. Whether that means you can afford a loss today against Houston or afford a loss down the road against the Clippers at the end of the regular season, or maybe you slip up on the road against the Kevin Durant-less Phoenix Suns, whatever it is, it does not matter where the loss comes. If you go 4-1, you will be the 6th seed at worst entering the playoffs for the Golden State Warriors, and that is important for the Warriors in this one. Other meaningful games around the West today, I mentioned Lakers and Thunder. Lakers already won that game. Pacers and Nuggets. Denver opened today again a half game ahead of the Warriors for 4th in the West. That game is in Denver beginning in a little bit as well. So Pacers and Nuggets, I'll talk a little bit more about that game coming up. But that's the only other meaningful game around the West for the Warriors today. Tomorrow, really nothing important for the Warriors around the NBA. Only a couple of games on a Monday around the entire association. And then Tuesday, a lot of big games. Memphis is in Charlotte. Minnesota is in Milwaukee. The Lakers are back in OKC. The Spurs visit the Clippers. And the Warriors are in Phoenix versus the Suns. So you've got implications in every single one of those games. Tuesday is going to be a huge day around the NBA for the Golden State Warriors. Really not much today other than the Warriors game and the Nuggets game. They're hosting the Pacers, and nothing important tomorrow. Almost everybody, in fact everybody other than Denver that matters for the Warriors is in action on Tuesday. So Tuesday is going to be a day, one way or the other, that has a big impact on how the Warriors are seeded. Tuesday is going to be huge, both for the Warriors game and considering who else is playing as well. All right, let's get to our injury report today. It's brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. And how about this? For the Warriors today versus the Houston Rockets, it is an empty injury report. No Warriors listed on the injury report today. You know how rare that is, especially this time of the season? Really rare. And Steve Kerr spoke pregame and said, quote, "It's important and hopefully it stays that way. You just knock on wood. Health's everything in this league this time of year, no doubt." Steve Kerr is 100% right there. An empty injury report for the Warriors. Meanwhile, for the Rockets, Jabari Smith Jr., their young big man, dealing with a right ankle sprain. He is questionable, and I don't yet have an update from the Rockets there on that one. Let me see if I can get you an update really quickly as I open up the NBA injury report, the official NBA injury report. Again, an empty injury report for the Warriors, and for the Rockets, Jabari Smith Jr. is still officially questionable for that game today. That is our injury report, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more info, visit boxerlaw.com. I wanted to play for you something that something that Draymond Green said post-game on Friday night versus the Nuggets after he got done defending Nikola Jokic. Here's Draymond Green talking about how tired and exhausted he is.
I'm exhausted. I just want to go home, relax, go to sleep. I'm tired.
That's Draymond Green post-game Friday night. After defending Jokic, and there were unique situations, it was a back-to-back, and it was a back-to-back fresh off of a 2-week road trip. I think a lot of that has to do with Draymond being exhausted, but he's also being asked to carry a really heavy load physically. He's playing the 5 basically every single game, and he's having to defend guys that got like 4, 5, or 6 inches on him at times. And that's going to continue tonight. This is a Rockets team that has the ability to go super, super big. They'll play Alperen Şengün, one of the best young big men in the NBA. They could also go with Jabari Smith Jr., who I mentioned is questionable today. They also can go with another big man for the Houston Rockets, Steven Adams. They have him. They could go big with Steven Adams. They've even got some size with Tari Eason. And you look at Amen Thompson, Bay Area kid. He plays physical. Not that he's necessarily a gigantic guy, but he plays a physical brand of basketball. So Draymond Green is going to have his hands full once again in this one. Hopefully the day off did him some good, and the Warriors are ready to keep it going because, again, one loss might be the difference in you being a top 6 seed, maybe being the 4 seed and having a home court advantage in the first round, and potentially being out of the top 6 and being a play-in team and not getting that entire week off. So that is going to have to continue for the Warriors, their competitiveness and their sense of urgency. And that's something that Steph Curry talked about post-game on Friday as well. Here's Steph on that competition, the compete level this Warriors team has. Here's Steph post-game on Friday.
You always had a competitiveness, like the energy can go up and down depending on what part of the season. It's obviously really hard to have a sustained level of everything for 82 games, but sense of urgency down the stretch, the feeling of where you are in the standings, every game matters, and the idea that like the chess match of how do we win this particular game becomes a little bit more important, and so. And we talk every game in huddles, but you are a little bit more animated at times when you feel the sense of urgency because of where we are, at this point in the season. So we thrive off of that. That's why we've been so successful for this many, years, because as the stakes rise, the lights get brighter, we tend to, level up.
Yep, and the Warriors are going to have to continue that sense of urgency. It doesn't matter how exhausted you are. It does not matter how tired you are. You lose a game tonight, you might be looking at a play-in tournament appearance as a result. So the Warriors cannot afford to drop many more games. Again, if they go 4-1, they're guaranteed top 6. So you can drop one more game. Anything worse than 4-1 in the Warriors' final 5, they will need help to avoid the play-in tournament. And considering the way the Clippers are playing, the way the T-Wolves are playing, you're probably not going to get that much help, if any. So go 4-1. You were the 6 at worst. Go 5-0, you're the 5 at worst. And if you're 5-0, you very, very, very well could be the 4 seed in the Western Conference as well. So no time to let up. The Warriors have to continue to put their foot down and accelerate here in their final 5 games of the regular season. All right, this is Warriors Live presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. I was talking about this game earlier, so let's get into it here. There are 11. Let's get to our out-of-town NBA game of the night, which is sponsored by the San Francisco International Airport. Wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. There are 11 games around the association today, including Pacers and Nuggets from Denver. The Pacers are pretty comfortably locked into the 4th seed in the East. They're 3 games behind the Knicks for 3rd, 3 games ahead of the Bucks for 5th, with only 5 games left, so they may not really have all that much to play for, but the Warriors are definitely big Pacers fans tonight because the Nuggets enter today a half game ahead of the Warriors for the 4th seed. If Denver loses today and the Warriors win, the Warriors will be the 4th seed at the end of the night, believe it or not, and if that holds, that means the Warriors would get home court advantage in the first round of the postseason. Anyway, this game is about to tip off, so it's too late to get to Denver tonight, but just know that SFO can help you get to the Mile High City or anywhere else an NBA game is going on whenever you need. The Warriors already visited Denver for their only regular season matchup this year, so there's no more regular season Dubs-Nuggets matchups in Denver, but there is a decent chance we could see Warriors-Nuggets in the postseason. In fact, if the regular season ended now, the first round series would be Warriors versus Nuggets. So maybe you want to get out to Denver for a Warriors-Nuggets postseason game. And if you want to do that, of course, SFO can get you there. That is our out-of-town NBA game of the night, which is sponsored by the San Francisco International Airport. Wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. All right, just a couple more minutes left with you here. It's Mark Randy live from Splash at Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center here on the west side of the arena. Best spot near the arena to grab something to drink and eat, pregame, postgame, watch any sports action that's going on across the country, and then make your way into Chase Center for some Warriors basketball. Here for just a couple more minutes, then I'll hand things off to Tim Roy and Tom Tolbert, who will take you up till tip-off through the end of the game, and then I'll be back here at Splash for postgame for Warriors wrap-up right here on 95.7 The Game. But before we get out of here, let's get to my Take It to the Bank prediction, which is brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking with no compromises. I will go over 12.5 points for Jonathan Kuminga tonight. He had, for my money, the best game of his season on Thursday in L.A. versus the Lakers. 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 7 of 12 from the field. Wasn't as smooth last time out on Friday versus Denver. 6 points, 3 of 9 from the field. But he does have a great history versus Houston, and specifically this season. On the 2nd of November in Houston without Steph, he had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 7 of 12 from the field in an overtime when he really took over late to will the Warriors to that win. And then the next month in December at home with no Steph and no Draymond, he had at that point a career-high 33 points and 7 rebounds. And tonight for Kuminga, it's a perfect night for a little bit of a bounce back. So I will go over 12.5 points for Jonathan Kuminga tonight. That is my Take It to the Bank prediction, brought to you by Fremont Bank, full service banking with no compromises. You have 2 of the hottest teams in basketball doing battle tonight. The Warriors have won 5 in a row. They're up to the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Meanwhile, the Rockets, they're 14-2 in their last 16 games. This one should be fun, and it's just a little more than a half hour away, and all the action, as always, is right here on 95.7 The Game. All right, this has been Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. Dubs and Rockets coming up next. Tim Roy, Tom Tolbert have you covered live from Chase on the other side, right here on 95.7 The Game.